Hey, I'm Colin Weston with the ModGolf Podcast. So I just finished up our long-form audio podcast episode with the gentleman that's about to join me here, and that is Cory Powell, who is the co-founder and CEO of Hubble.GOLF. And I just love his entrepreneurial journey. We really dug into the backstory of Hubble.GOLF and even his connection to golf and all the things he's done. So I'm not going to repeat that conversation because really want to encourage you as a viewer to go back and listen to that episode because he was just dropping nuggets of wisdom and all kinds of great things there. So we're just going to continue that conversation today and dig a little more into entrepreneurship and mentorship and all these other great aspects that, yes, they apply to a startup in the golf industry, but they are universal truths, the things we're going to dig into here today. So with that, I'm just going to bring him right on here. And there he is. Cory, welcome to ModGolf.
Colin, good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, hey, we get started here. One thing for our viewers here, I know it's such a cliche now on YouTube, but hey, I would really appreciate it just so you can see scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you like the conversations we're having here, myself as an independent content creator here with ModGolf since 2017, hey, if you show us a little bit of love, if you like what we're doing, give it a little thumbs up. Hey, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We managed to have more than 1,000 subscribers. We've really ramped up the last little while. So I want to thank everybody for all that. So yeah, if you can support us in some way, and that's just a little way to do it that doesn't really cost you anything to do. So hey, if you like ModGolf, come along for the ride. The community that we're creating here, and also the community, nice little segue, that Cory is creating with Hubble.GOLF. So yes, we did dig into all the good things in the backstory, so we're not going to repeat that. So, but we will start here again, so people understand, because you haven't quite launched yet. Well, by the time we release that, you're just going to launch, which is super exciting. So why don't you give us the elevator pitch, what you do and why you do it, Cory, with Hubble.GOLF?
Absolutely. Thank you, Colin, for the opportunity. And like he said, go like, comment, share, subscribe. He's doing great things for guys like me in the golf industry and startup community. We are creating at Hubble.GOLF the Expedia of golf events, is like the easiest way for me to put it. We are the largest, or will be the largest, searchable tournament database in all of golf, everything from junior golf, youth, professional, amateur, charity, college, green grass, non-green grass. We will be the hub and the passport to golf events. A user will be able to go on, find a tournament, create an itinerary, book travel, find nearby things to do, share itineraries, see expenses, budget your season. You'll even be able to fundraise at some point here in the near future on the platform. We've partnered with a really cool, unique fundraising solution, and we will integrate with them shortly. But ultimately, I can't share everything we're going to be doing here in the future, but we will ultimately become the hub, all things golf for all golfers.
Nice. And we were going to show some visuals of the website, but that's in beta right now. And you said you're going to be doing a new launch of the next version tomorrow. So that's why we're going to hold off here of showing that. But yeah, we will definitely have in the comments below, I will provide the link for Hubble.GOLF, all those good things to connect with Cory, because hey, if you're an entrepreneur or you got an idea, he's already put it out there that he has that give first mentality. He's more than happy to share some of his experiences, which I'm going to dig into a little bit right now. So the fact you played competitive golf, you also worked organizing tournaments for years, so and formed your own tour with the Outlaw Tour. Mm-hmm. So you've got all of these pieces, and you were an entrepreneur. We had a great story here when you were a kid. Not going to do a spoiler there. Go back and listen to the podcast episode because that was a funny story and a very insightful one of how you kind of cut your teeth very young at 8 years old with your first entrepreneurial venture. So we're going to, please go back and listen to that. Once again, I've got the link to the podcast episode down below also. So yeah, if all these things kind of collide and connect here, Cory, so digging into that. So kind of looking back, like what was that specific turning point when you knew that Hubble.GOLF was, I wouldn't say gaining traction because you're still on the road for that, but you knew it was a viable business concept, So what was that, and how did that feel to see your vision coming to life and reaching the first milestones that you've achieved here?
It's a really good question. I think it'll be ever evolving for us, especially as we offer new opportunities and open new segments of the market. But For me, I think very early on, before we even had product to market, gave me some conviction on, do I actually want to build this, is when I started meeting people who wanted to join my team or be a part of, the early development of Hubble Golf.
Right.
And prior to it ever becoming Hubble Golf, we were initially called Mini Tour Hub, and I was going to have Mini Tour Hub and Junior Golf Hub and College Golf Hub, and I had an early mentor pour into me about fundraising and the venture capital landscape, and things happened, time progressed, and now it became Hubble. But I would say early on, it was just, I had people who were very professional and thought leaders and very skilled in their particular industry or vertical, and said, hey, I want to be a part of this. You don't need to pay me anything. Gave me a little, little equity. I'll put in some sweat equity and time, and I'll help you build this out. So early on, that was it. And then as we started talking to organizations and parents, just continually hearing excitement in people's voice, and, oh, I need that, or
Right.
is that out now? And, when is that going to be out? And just hearing the excitement in people's voices with every conversation I had, and not really too many hymns or haws or bad. It was more so, man, that's so needed. And man, when is that coming out? And to me, that's what continued to keep me going and keep the momentum on my side as I failed and struggled and tried to figure things out. And, my mentor says true product market fit is when someone's willing to pay for your product or service. And so, as Colin mentioned, we will be going to market in about 60 days. And so, as the listener sees this or hears the podcast, will be about that same time when we release it. We'll be going to market, so it'll be live time. But yeah, that'll provide true conviction, and will really bring a new level of excitement when we actually have paying customers in the platform. And we really are trying to build this for the community. One of our sayings when I owned the Outlaw Tour was, we were a tour built for players by players. And
Nice.
I want Hubble Golf to be built for the community by a member of the community. And so that's, we want to build something of true utility, of true value for the golf industry, for the community, for the competing athlete, for the parents and the coaches and the organizers. And, we will push what we think is of true value and utility out when we go to market. And then as we do that and gain feedback, then we will kind of pivot, I'm sure, and make adjustments and push new features out that the people want.
Nice. Nice. So yourself growing up with golf. So golf, like entrepreneurship, it involves a lot of patience, strategy, perseverance, commitment, mental toughness. So how do you apply those lessons from the game of golf that you've learned to your entrepreneurial journey?
It's a great question and a solid point. I think golf golf is not easy. And I think to
I know.
become good at golf, it takes a lot of hard work and discipline and time alone on the range, talking with yourself and just battling that little white ball that's sitting stagnant in front of you. And it takes grit and tenacity and perseverance to just continue to chunk it and blade it and, duck hook it and whatever you go through as a player to ultimately kind of figure this game out and continue to get better. And I think for me, I didn't get good overnight. My grandpa always said, if you want to get good at anything, it's willing to pay the price, and that's long hours and hard work and doing what others aren't willing to do. And I think that's applicable to sports, or that's applicable to getting fit in the gym, or building a company from ground all the way up to, hopefully sale acquisition at some point. And yeah, at the end of the day, regardless of what you're doing, you have to love what you're doing and you have to be passionate about it. And if you love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, then those long hours and hard work don't seem as long and don't seem as hard.
Love that response. So a lot of parents out there, you've been mentioning, for them to navigate for their elite level kids
Hmm.
to play at tournaments, takes a lot of time. You said on average about 4 hours for them to organize something. So we talk about pain points. So with pain points, let's talk about pain points a little bit, about the ones that you have isolated and discovered and honed in on that are adding value to what you are creating here with Hubble Golf. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the pain points that you've experienced personally, and also that you're seeing, especially with parents, or if it's even people that were, let's say, with yourself back in the day, where you're a competitive golfer and you're looking to then organize your summer of golf tournaments and making that happen to compete. So tell us about pain points.
Yeah, so some of my more seasoned listeners might remember this, but I think all the way back to my junior golf career in the early 2000s, and my parents, is predominantly word of mouth. You would hear, what local events or regional, or then you'd branch off into some of the more state organizations and independent. There's independent events, there's organized events by state section. But a lot of it was word of mouth. There's, still, I think, a large majority of word of mouth. There's your more acclaimed organizations, your AJGAs, and, those of the world, the Hurricane Junior Tours. But there's still a lot of searching. A parent's got to have 3, 4, 5 tabs open to find what events, compare and contrast schedules, and then once you actually find the 1, 2, 3, 10 events that your kid's going to play in, what's it going to cost, and then you got to figure out, am I driving, am I flying, a hotel, nearby golf courses, all these ancillary things that go into planning a schedule. And early on, like I'd mentioned, my more seasoned listeners will remember MapQuest. And I remember my
Mm.
grandfather and I would travel to all my junior tournaments during the summer, and my mom would basically hand me this manila folder that had each event, and it had my registration details, and then it had the map from the golf course, from our house to the golf course to the hotel, and then we'd have to find restaurants and practice facilities, and then a gym as I got older. And so there's a lot of complexity and nuance, and then there's also a financial cost that goes around all of this. And so what we're trying to do with Hubble Golf is, what takes on average 4 hours per event to plan and figure this all out, now you can plan an entire season in a matter of an hour or two, and
Right.
then also figure out, what's it going to cost, not only for the entry fee, but the hotel and the gas, and if you're flying, and if there's rental cars involved, and then you're able to add in, your training and equipment and all these other expenses to say, okay, for me to play this entire summer season, it may cost $3 grand or $5 grand or $10 grand. And so that's really where our immediate pain point that we're trying to solve is for, the junior golfers, the parents of junior golfers, the coaches who are helping support these junior golfers and help make some of these impactful decisions. And then for the organizers, we're trying to be a marketing platform for you and your events, and bring, more players, increased participation to your events, to your tournaments, and ultimately kind of create a win-win for all parties involved.
Nice, nice. So you had mentioned earlier on the podcast that one of the key pillars of your vision creating Hubble Golf is that community building aspect. So since you're going to be launching what we call a minimum viable product, you cannot put every single feature out there that perhaps you've whiteboarded with you and the team right now, because that's just too much. So you need to see what works and what doesn't, and do a little more of this and a little less of that, remove some things that don't work, and then add some new things. But do you see the vision, this community building piece already with parents, and myself not being from that world at all, as far as that traveling roadshow, that parents, the financial and time commitment of taking their kids around to tournaments all over the country? Is there that real community with parents, maybe in other states, where they meet, or they keep to themselves, or they really bond over that? And if they do, is this an opportunity for you to create a platform that kind of supercharges that, to bring them together so they can connect with each other? Is that part of the vision?
It is. That is
Mm.
a main focal point of our approach, is to really lean into the parents and the coaches. I would say the supporting team around the junior golfer, the junior athlete, because parents are the stats say 90% of the decision makers in the household. I would argue that they're 100% really,
Yeah.
they're the ones footing the bill at the end of the day. And so if we can create something that, connects parent to parent, because oftentimes to help, split cost, one parent might be taking the child of another parent, or another two other families, three families are traveling together. And so if they're saying, well, hey, well, what are you playing in this summer? Or a coach may have a stable of players that they work with. And so
Mm.
if we're trying to bring everyone together and, help mitigate cost and help other people travel together, and then as, maybe one parent is taking two or three other kids with them, now they can share that itinerary with that parent and also share and split those expenses. So one parent's probably booking the room, but hey, I need to split it with two or three other parents. So it's a way for us to really not only bring together the team around the player, but also connect parent to parent, and make just bring the community, the parents together to say, hey, we're all going to collectively help plan this season, because all of our kids want to play together. And instead of having to play phone tag and email tag, it's, hey, you all have an account. We're going to share this itinerary with John and Susie and whoever the parents are, and we're going to work together on this.
Nice, nice. So, hey, to finish up here, got one question from one of our audience members. Actually, on the bottom here, I'll put, or here we go. So we do have our ModGolf Patreon community here. Hey, and I do encourage people, if you're watching or listening here, to jump on board. Been running this for over a year now, and it's kind of gives you that deeper level of engagement. You get exclusive access to things, and also winning awesome free golf gear. Who doesn't love to win free stuff? So part of our Patreon there. And we actually have a question here. I did put it out there earlier today to the over 100 people that are part of our ModGolf Patreon community. And I've got a gentleman, I don't know him directly, but Jimmy Jones. And Jimmy has asked this question. He asks, what is one key piece of advice you would give someone who's thinking about pursuing their passion for starting a business, especially in a competitive industry like golf? Good question.
It's a really good question, Jimmy. I would say, first and foremost, have you, as the founder, is this a pain point that you personally have experienced? And because no one's going to be able to speak better to your product than you personally. And if you've personally experienced that pain point, it's going to help you create something that you personally would use. And then, are there enough people, is the market big enough that would be willing to pay for whatever product or service you're willing to, or have an idea around creating? And then I would say, more importantly, above all that is, are you passionate? Do you genuinely love? Are you excited about what you're creating? Because there's no such thing as getting rich quick. It's probably not going to be easy. It's going to take more time. It's going to take more money than you would initially expect. That's what my mentor always tells me. And so at the end of the day, you got to love what you do, because if you don't love what you do, at some point the struggle, the hurdles that you're going to have to jump through, there's a chance it could be too much. And if you don't love and are passionate about it, then you'll probably give up. And I always think of that picture of the guy chipping in the mine, and the diamonds are just on the other side, and he gives up. And I think of all the podcasts I listen to and founders I've spoken with who have had success and sold companies. That's the one thing, the one common denominator every single one of them says is, just don't give up, just don't quit, just keep going. And ultimately, if you keep going and your product's good enough, you will be successful. So yeah, love what you do and keep going.
Love that. What's the saying? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right. Absolutely.
That is true. So, hey, to finish up, put it right up there, nice and simple for everybody to find. Go to www.hubble.golf to, whether it's your kids, whether it's yourself, whether you want to actually put together a buddies trip. You've even talked about that, to curate that. So you've got that capability once you launch, which, as I said, we've recorded this a couple weeks before we were launching. We're timing this very strategically, so it's going to drop right when you're good to go with Hubble Golf. So think really that's all we need to say, because people can connect with you also on the podcast. I said earlier to connect with Cory personally on LinkedIn. I'll also include that in the show notes here also. So super easy to get a hold of Cory. And although it sounds like once they launch and ramp up, he's going to be very busy, but it sounds like you're more than willing to talk to people that are kindred spirits in the entrepreneurship space.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm always here. Happy to have a conversation. I love meeting founders, and it doesn't matter. I just love having conversation and building relationship around this beautiful game that we all play.
Love this. Well, hey, Cory, thank you for joining me on ModGolf. I've got a feeling that this is the first of many conversations that we need to do a yearly check-in to see where you're going. And hopefully you'll have the time and the inclination to join me again, that this is just the first date on a beautiful relationship that's just blossoming here.
Absolutely. Like I told you, Colin, you're my first podcast I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. I appreciate it very much. I thank you for the platform that you've created for this community and for founders like me to share our journey and share what we're building. And I look forward to a very long-lasting and beautiful relationship as we move forward.
Love this. All right, Cory, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to everybody soon, next time on the ModGolf Podcast on our YouTube channel.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it.